You know those languages you hear in movies or read in books? The ones that sound totally alien? Ever wonder how they're actually made? Well, it's not just a bunch of random sounds thrown together. No, there's a hidden blueprint, a secret architecture behind them. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how it's done. Okay, just look at these two sentences. On the left, we've got a language called Kar'yn. On the right, Tlãxan. They sound completely different, right? I mean, one feels really harsh and guttural, while the other is way more rhythmic. But, and you gotta believe me on this, they're actually built on some of the very same core principles.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? How do you go from a completely blank page to a logical system that can express complex ideas, like the sentences we just saw? Well, it all kicks off with one single, absolutely crucial decision. And that decision is all about the DNA of your sentence. It's like the fundamental operating system that everything else is going to run on. For both Kar'yn and Tlãxan, that blueprint is a structure that you don't see as often in English, but it's every bit as powerful. It's called verb, subject, object, or VSO for short. Now in English, we're used to subject, verb, object, right? The cat chased the mouse. But with VSO, you flip that around. The action comes first. Chased the cat the mouse. Just making that one choice completely changes the rhythm and feel of the language. It even kind of hints at what the speakers might care about most, the action itself. Let's see this in action. Here's a super simple sentence in Kar'yn. First, you start with a verb, kulvith, which means need. Then you bring in the subject, mzin, or you. And finally, what's the object of that need? Zanak, to go. Verb, subject, object. Kulvith, mzin, zanak. See? Once you've got this core engine, you can start building all the other parts, the words themselves. Okay, so you've got your sentence structure down, but where do the words even come from? Well, you don't just pull random sounds out of thin air. You create systems for building meaning, almost like you're playing with Lego bricks. And both of these languages do this, but in totally different ways. Kar'yn just loves to smash two ideas together to make a brand new one. This is called compounding. So, for example, you take the word for mind, which is vol, and you take the word for order, dre. You stick them together and you get voldre, literally mind order. And what's a mind order? A document. It's so logical, and it actually tells you something about the culture. They see a document as an organized thought. Pretty cool, huh? And Kar'yn has another neat trick up its sleeve, using prefixes to completely flip a word's meaning. Check out the prefix kla. It basically means without or no. So you can take a word like korth, which means honor, and just tack on kla to get kla korth, without honor. Or my favorite, zor, which means time. Add the prefix and you get kla zor, without time, which is their word for being detained. It's such a powerful little tool. Tlãxan, on the other hand, it likes to add pieces to the end of words. It uses suffixes to change what a word does. For instance, the suffix thul is this super handy tool for taking a general idea and making it a specific thing, a noun. So the root word hoka just means a living being in general. But when you add thul, you get hokalt, a specific creature. And this right here really shows you the different design philosophies. To say no, Kar'yn bakes that negative meaning right into the word itself with its kla prefix. Tlãxan, though, handles it more like we do in English. It uses a totally separate word, ma, that goes right before the verb. So here's the key takeaway. Even though they both started with that same VSO foundation, the choices they made for building words created two wildly different languages. All right, we've got sentence structure, we've got word building, but what about the vibe of the language, the personality? Well, that comes from the specific sounds you decide to use. This is called phonetics, and it's what gives a language its unique audio signature. Kar'yn is built on this palette of harsh, guttural sounds. Think k, g, z. That choice makes it sound a bit more pragmatic, maybe even militaristic. Tlãxan, though, is the total opposite. It uses softer sounds like sh, that unique tl sound you actually hear in real-world languages like Nahuatl, and these long, drawn-out vowels. It creates this flowing, almost poetic feel. So the sounds themselves start to tell a story about the people who speak them. Okay, we have covered the three key ingredients: sentence structure, word building, and phonetics. So now it's time for the final test. We're going to circle all the way back to that first sentence in Kar'yn, and we're going to decode it piece by piece using every single rule we've just learned. And here it is again. I know, it looks pretty intimidating, right? But now we actually have the keys to unlock it. Just remember that core VSO structure we talked about? Let's see how it works and how sometimes you can even bend the rules.
Okay, so here's our first little twist. Even though VSO is the default, Kar'yn has a cool rule that lets you pop the subject to the very front for emphasis. Kind of like shouting, "You will be detained." So we start with mzun, which we know means you. Then the verb phrase, Kar'yn and Tlãxan, that's will be. And the object, clausor, detained. So that whole first chunk means you will be detained.
Next up is this tiny but super important word, sha. This is a little particle that connects the first part of the sentence to the second part. In this case, it means until. So you will be detained until what? Let's find out. And here's our second, smaller clause. And val means I. Teresh is the verb to know. And kiksal gor. Remember our compounding rule? That's another one. It's kiksal for what and gor for person, which gets smashed together to mean who. So this whole back half translates to I know who. And when you put it all together, the mystery is solved. Mzun Kar'yn and Tlãxan clausor shan vol terish kagor means you will be detained until I know who. Just like that, we went from a string of alien sounds to a complete logical thought. Every single piece has its place. So we've seen how a language is built, step by step. But, that brings up a much bigger question. Why? Why go to all this trouble? Why invent these intricate systems of rules and sounds in the first place? And the answer is, a language is never just a code. Every single rule is a choice, and that choice reveals something about the speakers. Choosing to make the word document from the words mind and order tells us that this culture values logic and structure. You're not just building sentences, you're building an entire worldview from the ground up. And really, that's what this is all about. Every language, whether it's real or invented, is a unique lens for looking at reality. So think about it. If you were to build your own language from scratch, what values would you bake right into its grammar? What ideas would be easy to say, and which ones would be hard? Through your lens, what would you want to see?